Hello, everyone, and I am here with my friend Rob Doyen, a social studies teacher from South Dakota. And the reason why I brought Rob on for this broadcast, and of course we're doing this live on the channel, and I'm likely going to put this on the podcast as well, because I think that he's got something useful for people, really anybody, but especially those of you who are teachers and students, or even just academically inclined. You like to learn. But at the same time, maybe you should also take care of yourself. And of course, you have study goals and stuff like that. It's mid-January, which is really about the time when New Year's resolutions get away from us. And I remember a couple weeks ago, I was on Instagram, I believe, Rob, and I saw that you had actually made a running goal for 2018. And not only did you keep it, but you exceeded it. So, Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself and specifically about your resolution last year and how that went for you.
Well, like you said, my name is Rob Doyen. I'm a government teacher in Harrisburg, South Dakota, right here. Go Tigers. We got a basketball game tonight, so I'm going to go to that right after this. So I had set a goal for myself. I've been running on and off for about 10 years, and I started more seriously running about 5 years ago. And then finally, last year, I convinced myself I should set a long-term goal for the year for the number of miles that I'm going to run. And so I talked with a guy I teach with who is a big-time runner. He's run several marathons. He averages about 200 to 250 miles a month in running. So I thought, you know what? I'm not going to keep up with that guy. So I'm going to try my own. I thought, you know what? How about 1,000 miles? I'm going to see if I can get 1,000 miles for the year. And it came out to about 80 miles a month and about 20 miles a week. And I thought, okay, that's something I can do. I have a huge goal for the year, but I don't want to start January 1 and go, oh, look at that. I'm at 1. Now I got 999 miles to go. So I kept breaking it down to, okay, I got 80 miles this month. I've got 70 more to go. I got 60 more to go. Or if it was particularly hard one, I'm like, okay, I've got 20 miles this week. I'm at 5. Or I'm like, all right, it's Tuesday. I got to get 5 miles in today. So it helped me to break it down for that way. And then about February or March, maybe, I was going really good. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to up this. I'm going to go from 1,000 to 1,200 in my head. I didn't want to put it out there to like friends and family and all that stuff and say, hey, I changed it to 1,200 and then not get it and then have the ridicule of my friends, which I'm assuming I would have. And then I finally, as I'm going along, it's going pretty good. And then I had an issue in May. I had set another goal, like kind of a sub goal of I'm going to try and run every single day in May. And I was on it was like May 27th. And I had run every single day, at least 3 miles every single day. And I was just killing it. And I'm running along in my neighborhood, run past our dog park. And out of nowhere comes this giant golden retriever. And just comes at me. I'm like, oh, look at that. It's a nice playful dog coming to say hi. And it was nice. It was playful. It wasn't on a leash. And it dove right between my legs as I was running. And I just ate the pavement pretty hard. And so I had to stop. Like I finished that run with both knees bleeding, both hands bleeding. And it wasn't my best run, but I finished it. But then I couldn't run for the next week. My knees swelled up and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, I ruined my goal of wanting to hit, 30 days or every day that month. And I realized, well, my ultimate goal is this 1,000 or this 1,200 for the year. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm still on track. I might have gotten sidetracked there, but I'm still on track. And that 1 month of trying to hit every day was kind of a boost. I didn't hit that goal, but I was still going for that ultimate goal. And I finally, by the time December 27th, I hit 1,200 miles. And then by the time I finished on December 31st, I ran on December 31st on my daughter's birthday. I ran that morning and I got 1,234 miles.
1230. So you just went for style points at the end of it. You just
Yeah,
thought like,
no,
okay,
not 12. Yeah, 12. I was going for 12:34. I was like 2 days short. I'm like, well, I'm not going to get 15 miles every day for 2 days. So I went for 12:12.
wait, so where did 1234 come from?
That was my goal in the last few days. I'm like, oh, for like December, I'm like, oh, it'd be cool if I end up on 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I kind of slacked off because it was Christmas time and I was eating too much food and not running enough. So I didn't
Okay.
get 12:34. It would have been really cool. Maybe that's my next goal, to reach 12:34.
Yeah, I mean, it almost sounds like, I mean, you've got Han Solo there behind you. It's
Oh,
almost
yeah,
like Spaceballs, like the luggage combination,
yeah.
the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it makes sense now. Okay, so 1234, you thought it'd be cool. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So yeah, well, this is a really cool story, and I thought, when I saw this, I was like, first of all, I want to hear a little more about this. Now, while you've been talking, Rob, I've been making some notes. Of course, this is something that students should do all the time. When somebody's speaking. And remember, students, that learn to make notes. If you don't know how to make notes from what somebody's saying, learn this, okay? Because as far as what Rob's been saying, because I was hoping to inspire myself, because I'm really, I can't think of a time where I've made a New Year's resolution and then at the end of the year, I'm like, okay, I did this. And so here are a few things that I'm hearing from you, Rob, and feel free to chime in with anything, with anything else, and, kind of give me some feedback here. So the first thing I'm seeing here is that you picked something that you were already doing on and off. So it wasn't like, I'm going to just start doing this thing that I've never done before. It's really, it seems like you picked something that you knew that if I did this consistently, the way that I've done it sporadically before, then I could actually do something pretty serious with this if I would just make it consistent.
Yeah, so then I can get even more into it. Like you said, I've been running sporadically and I wanted to get more into it. And this helped me do that. It's going to be difficult to set a goal of I want to learn how to play the cello like a world-class cellist in a year. That's not going to happen if you've never played cello before. But if you want to say, hey, I want to start playing a new instrument this year, that's easily done. Just like me, I like running. How about I try and run 1,000 miles and maybe that'll help me love running, or it makes me want to find something else to do.
Okay, so that is another thing, that something you like. If it's something that you don't like at all, then it's probably not going to be as likely that you'll keep it.
No, it's incredibly difficult to do that. That's the problem people have with diets. They don't stay on a diet because diets are horrible. I don't like being on a diet. I don't like eating stuff that I don't want to eat. But if you just make small changes and do things that you still like, if you start off small, like, I'm just going to not eat 7 hamburgers. I'm only going to eat 4, like, I like eating stuff, but I'm just going to back it down a little bit.
Yeah, and so that's the thing as far as starting small, breaking it down. Also, I'm seeing here like you're setting a long-term goal, and see, because for me, I've already I made a, based on what you did, I thought if Rob can run 1,000 miles in a year, then surely I can walk a mile a day. Okay, so I set a goal here. I was like, look, I can at least, if nothing else, and I that's on top of trying to work out and that sort of thing. But every day, no matter what, if I can get out of bed, I can walk a mile. And so that's something that I've kind of put myself to. Now, the other thing, though, about, walking a mile a day, it's something that I can catch up on because I've already gotten behind. Inevitably for me, I get sick sometime in mid-January. It's like I got a cough last week, and then I went to the doctor and I told the doctor, I was like, I can't sleep. I need something to help me sleep. Maybe, I'm not sleeping well because of the cough. And so then he leaves the room for a little bit. He comes back in. He's like, oh, the strep test that the nurse took, positive. And so the thing is that my issue is that already, I mean, with that and a few other things, it is now January 15th. I've walked 8.2 miles. Now the thing is, I've still got time, because I'm on the mend now. I've been on antibiotics a few days. And so when I set I'm going to walk at least 1 mile a day, then I can walk 2 miles a day easy. So it's like, okay, let me just double up. And hopefully by the end of January, I'll be back on track. And, I'm already kind of doing those calculations and all that. How do I get back on track here and, break it, just as far as let me see if I can be where I am at the end of January. But then again, let's say I'm at like 26, 28 miles by the end of January. There's still February. There's still, we've still got 11 months to go, right? And so from what I'm seeing here, that if you start small, because I thought, they've got that song about walking 500 miles, and I was thinking, maybe later I can up it to 500, and say like, hey, I actually walk 500 miles in the year. But before I do that, I need to demonstrate I can consistently walk 30 miles in a month, so breaking it down by day, breaking it down by week. And I'm thinking that when I get better, then what I need to do is start even thinking, how can I get ahead? Not like maybe the first week of January, I should have done some 2-mile walks to go ahead and bank some stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm thinking about this. And so I can always make it up late. I can always up it later. Don't get stagnant. Now, another thing I'm hearing, which maybe I'm doing right now, and maybe that's part of my problem so far, is you're saying make it public, okay? And there can be an inner dialogue that's going on as far as, do I want to up it to 1,200 or to 1, 2, 3, 4 or something like that? But you're saying what I heard you say earlier is, if you haven't made the goal public and you haven't told people in your inner circle who can hold you accountable for it, then it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, it's so easy if you keep it to yourself. It's so easy for yourself to just go, maybe it just wasn't. I'll try again next month, or I'll try again later. But if you make that public, and especially with some of your close friends, which I did, then they will hold you to it. The same thing we did in our social studies department here last year. We had a Biggest Loser contest where we had to try see who could lose the biggest percentage of body weight, because we had, as we age, we tend to gain a little weight. So we had that, and it kept, instead of me just trying to go on a diet and drop some pounds, when you have friends that are doing it with you, but then you have that extra motivation of, oh, well, I want to beat that guy. I mean, it's one of my best friends, but I want to beat them. I don't want them to beat me. It makes it competitive. And you can have fun with it. Now, that's not going to work for everybody. It's not going to work for every situation, obviously. But if you can add that in there, that kind of helps you. That helps drive you a little bit.
Okay, so we want something driving, driving you. And that's the thing. It's like, for most people, there are a few things that are more worthless than a promise you make to yourself. Because we always, those promises we make to ourselves will put below promises we make to other people. They're, I don't know, some people watching may or may not have read Jordan Peterson's 12 Rules for Life. He's writing about how people are more likely to fill their dog's prescription and to actually take it the way, give it to their dog the way they're supposed to, than to take their own prescriptions. Like, we take better care of our dogs than we take care of ourselves.
Yes, you tend to, you take care of other people first. I mean, I guess I'm the same kind of way. I suppose that's just something my mom taught me, that you just take care of other people and then you come second or third or even last, But so that promise to yourself doesn't always work when it comes to setting goals,
Yeah, and I'm also hearing, like you've mentioned, setting sub goals to keep it. There are some things to keep it interesting. Set some sub goals, but then just because every single little sub goal is not met, don't look at the failure to meet a sub goal as a failure if you're still on the right track to your main goal.
Exactly.
Because the whole point of the sub goal was just to make it interesting in the first place.
Yes, to add a little something in there, like, oh, let's see if I can do this, or let's see if I can do that. And that's the thing I was thinking about when you're talking about walking a mile every day, which is great. But and some people can do that. Like me, when I realized that trying to run every day, it's a grind. Like you got to do it every single day. Whereas if you're going to try and walk every single day, instead of saying, I'm going to walk a mile every day, I'm going to walk 30 miles this month. So then, you know what? I missed this day because I was sick, or the alarm didn't go off and I couldn't get up or whatever. So then you don't go, oh, well, I missed that. What if it happens if you miss the third day and all of a sudden your goal is shot and you're like, well, I might as well not do it anymore. But if you say, I got to make 30 miles this month, So if you you're on day 29 and you're at 25 miles, you're like, well, I got to kind of kick in the butt here. I've only got a couple days left. So
Yeah.
it helps you stay on track if you don't get it so rigid of like, if I'd even drop off a little bit, my goal is done.
Yeah, so having the increment so that you're not every little micro failure. Because yeah, for me looking at this right now, it's like, okay, 8 miles. That means that I've got 22 miles in 15 days. But then again, if I look at it, I've got 2 weeks to walk 22 miles. Then I can do that, and I need to think about doing some, because I can walk 3 miles. Now the other thing, sometimes I'll turn it into like a run walk, and if I run, I'll count that as well. So it's like,
I would hope so.
Yeah, it's like I can go knock out a few miles running if I need to. So that is that's very useful, and maybe I will be more likely, because I've made this public tonight, to go out there. Now another thing for my students,
I'm gonna hold you to it.
Oh, well, do that. Yeah, let's do that then. I'm all about it. So y'all hold me to it. By the end of January, I'll have logged 30 miles. Okay, walking, running, whatever I'm going to do. But 30, so by February 1st, I'm going to note for everybody, like, look, I've got, well, I guess January is one of those knuckle months. So I've got to have 31 miles by the end of January, and I'm saying that in public. Now, first of all, for students that are watching, I want to do some things on my channel this year to help people take care of themselves, because, especially people that are taking a lot of AP courses, that's what falls by the wayside. It's like just all of those things, and we're not taking care of ourselves. But the other thing is setting study goals. One of the things, my school turns over in the semester. Like, we've got first semester's over. I'm going to start a new AP US history class tomorrow. And one question I'm going to ask the students is like, how much homework do you expect to have? And let's go ahead and set, like, what are our expectations? And for individual people, how much do you plan to study? And thinking about not necessarily every day, but in a week. And so, because I think that, one thing that I've seen teaching is that if I can get a student to spend like 20 minutes a night, or about 2 hours a week, like actually in focused, concentrated studying, like, phone away, all of that kind of stuff, like actually sitting there with no distractions for 2 hours a week, infinitely more than somebody who's spending no time. So what could we say to that student who's trying to think about, like, hey, I want to set, AP exams are coming up in May, and I want to go ahead and set some goals for myself, for spending some uninterrupted time studying. What would you have to say to that student, Rob?
For me, and it works, it would work for me, and I think it would work a lot of people if you segment it out of, okay, I've got this many weeks before this AP test. I've got this many chapters to cover. And I'm going to cover, and it's, and you want to look at it. And I know when I taught AP government, that it was set up, the book itself had some extra stuff that showed you this percentage is going to be on the test, and this percentage is going to be on the test, and this percentage is going to be on the test. So if you covered 3 chapters that are only going to be 10% of the test, then study for 10% less than you would others. You know what I mean? Like you can go, okay, it's only going to be 10%. So I still want to study it, obviously, because I don't want to drop 10% off just because I didn't study. But you might not hit it as hard as you might hit these ones about the process of government and all that kind of stuff, because that's going to be 45% or whatever. So you break it down. For me, it works better if you just break it down. Like, okay, I'm going to study this chapter today for this week, and then this week, and then this week. And even if you put it almost into a schedule of, because your students aren't going to have just your class. And that's what I tell my students, my government students too. Like, I get it that you guys have other classes. There's more classes in this school than just mine. And then you also have extracurricular activities. You're playing basketball or football, or you're in debate, or you're in theater, or you're in band, or whatever. And then you might have a job. So I get you got other stuff going on. So you got to try and figure out, okay, I've got this going on in this class this week, so I got to study for that. I've got really just a little bit of homework, so I can kind of not slack off, but back off on the studying for that class, because this one, I've got a huge semester exam coming up, or I got a chapter test, or I got a unit test coming up, or something like that. So I think if you just look at your schedule and figure it out, instead of just scattershot. Oh, I just got to start studying, and then you just are randomly studying things. You got to like put it in almost a schedule, I think.
And that's what you've done with your running as well. So as far as that goes, ladies and gentlemen that are watching this now or listening to this, in the podcast format or later on in the YouTube channel, make sure just what we've heard is to set a long-term goal, to schedule, to let people know what it is that you plan to do. Don't just keep it in your head. Let people know. Also, be willing to move around and reschedule. So, Rob was saying if, you've got a big test in this week or a big project here, or, you're very busy, so you may not be able to keep up your personal fitness goals. And I think especially also, I always tell kids to stay hydrated, and that's very important.
Oh, yeah. I don't even have mine's empty. I must have drank.
Oh my goodness! Well, hopefully that means because you drank it. But the thing
I have about 4 of these things every single day.
Yeah, and see, I noticed, Rob, that most students don't drink enough water, and this would be a great thing for people to say, like, hey, maybe I'm going to drink 2 liters of water in a day or something like that. And then that comes to like measuring it out. This is a half-gallon bottle here. And so I make sure that when I'm at work, I drink a half gallon, and then I drink a half gallon when I'm not at work. And so I make sure that I'm getting that. But I think that even when it comes to that, because a lot of students, they might say, I don't have time to exercise. Well, you've got time to drink water. And so, just drinking enough water. I mean, that's a New Year's resolution that would help a lot of kids who aren't doing that yet. So again, you can say in January, I'm going to make sure to drink at least 2 liters of water a day. Then you up it. I mean, really, I think you should be drinking, like most people should be drinking, like at least 2.5 to 3 liters of water, I
think so. That seems like.
Yeah, and if you're an athlete, then even more. But even though they've got those, you hear those stories like, oh, there's such thing as water poisoning, but it's like for water poisoning to happen, somebody's got to drink such an obscene amount of water.
You have to drink like 8 gallons of water in a day, which
I mean
unless you're Tom Brady, you can't really do that.
Right. I mean, you would be physically sick before you would be water poisoned or something like that. So, but I think there are some people that they avoid drinking too because they're like, oh, I could get water poisoning. And it's like, that's not how it works. Somebody that drinks like less than 3 gallons of water a day, which is basically everybody, you're not going to get anywhere near what it would take, to get some sort of water poisoning. So the thing is, January, 2 liters of water a day. Then maybe go it to 2.5, and then eventually get to 1 gallon a day. I think that everybody should drink 1 gallon of water a day if they can do that. But you don't necessarily have to do that in January. So, Rob, any other quick encouraging words for the young folks, especially before we wrap this up and get you to your basketball game?
Besides drinking more water, maybe getting some more sleep also helps.
Okay, and that's another thing. See, and I might not have gotten sick if I were sleep's always been a problem for me. I drink a lot of water, but sleep is a problem. And that's another thing that, it's getting to where you can set bedtime alarms and you can do that incrementally, right? So,
Exactly. Or like you said, holding up this phone, putting on screen limits on your phone, like, okay, from 5 to, I've done that myself for mine, from 5 till 8 o'clock. This phone, there's limits to it. It won't come on. I can't get into anything because for me, it's not so much studying. It's more time with my family. So from 5 to 8, that phone's off. I don't get distracted by buzzing or beeping or anything like that. And then I can concentrate on having time with my kids and my wife.
And so, doing screen limits and then doing some things to protect your sleep, like not having the phone in your room, stuff like that, and maybe putting the phone away at a certain point. And the thing is, if somebody's going to bed at 1 o'clock, then it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to bed at midnight. I'm going to go to bed at midnight, or I'm going to go to bed at 12:30, and then ratchet it up. Once you're reliably getting in bed at that time. For some of you, you may not even go to bed. You may fall asleep watching TV, like I do sometimes. I mean, so even just the act of, so for me, sometimes it's just the act of, what, if I can just intentionally go to bed, then that's like a win. So yeah. I mean, exercise, water, sleep, studying, like all of these things are going to help people. But yeah, Rob, I'm glad you said something because I definitely need to do some things to improve the quality of my sleep.
Yeah, and then set some goals, but set reasonable goals, and if you happen to miss something, don't let that derail your entire plan. Like if I had just keep going with it. Just because you're, like you said, I'm gonna walk a mile a day for every day. All right, so you missed a day. Okay, well now you know what? I'm gonna start over. I'm gonna walk a mile a day from now on. Just keep setting that goal and keep pushing towards it. Don't let it stop you and go, oh well, I missed that one, so I'm done. You just gotta keep going.
Yeah, and I think that's what really gets me sometimes, and I think a lot of a lot of students, especially people who are high achievers, they get in this perfectionist thing that like, okay, I didn't get it perfect, so might as well not even not even try. And the thing is, if you'd run 900 miles this year, it would have been better than what you did last year, right?
Exactly. I wouldn't have reached my goal and I would have been disappointed, but I still could have looked at it and go, hey, you know what? 900 miles is pretty good compared to the couple hundred miles that I'd ran the year before. Yeah. I mean, you have to take your accomplishments, and you have to understand that sometimes you're not going to make a goal, but that doesn't mean that you failed. You just didn't reach that one goal. But you know what? I'm going to try better, and I'm going to get better, and I'm going to keep going.
And I think as far as that too, one thing that I was thinking as well is there's always next year. And so sometimes when we're tempted to set that goal like too high, that, it's like, let's get the goal here, meet that, and you can always set a higher goal next year. And so as far as that goes, if you'd have run 900, then, okay, well, let me set this. And then, it's an improvement. Okay. So even pursuing something, even if you're not pursuing it perfectly, you're still noting some kind of improvement. Now, in closing, Rob, what's your goal for this year? I mean, you did the 1, 2, 3, 4 last year. What are you looking forward to this year?
I'm not going to try for a mileage goal this year. I'm gonna run a half marathon in Omaha in April. And then I'm going to try and drop some more weight to get back to my goal is to get back to my high school weight, which was like 185. That might be a little bit out of my range, being given that I'm 42 now. So that might be a bit much. That might be a bit drastic. So I might have to change that one. But like I said, with all this stuff, if I don't get to 185, I'm not going to be disappointed. If I can drop some weight, I'm going to be happy with it.
So, yeah, what I'm hearing is the whole thing is just about improving yourself. And as long as you're getting better than you were, then it's a win. Okay. So good. Well, Rob, thanks for joining us this evening, and congratulations on meeting that 1, 2, 3, 4 mileage goal, and a pleasure to have you here. And I love that. Can you show everybody the poster that you're hiding with your head? We got the dude there. The dude abides. All right. So, so Rob, good luck tonight with the basketball game, and go Tigers.
All right, then. Hey, good job, Clemson, too. That was a nice.
Oh, of course. Yeah, those Tigers are doing great, too. We can't forget that. They just ate their McDonald's at the White House or whatever they did yesterday, right?
Well earned, man.
So, yeah, go Tigers.
Go.